Gather round me, children, I'll tell you the news. Don't worry about the names or dates, you already know it's true. The doctor hates your baby, the prime minister's a ghost, and all them folks are sailing here 'cause they're in love with boats. Superfoods can save us from all our evil sin. JFK and Elvis own a bar in Wisconsin. And vaccinations were created by the CIA to steal votes from Bernie Sanders and turn your babies gay. So click the link you think you like and get tooled for a fight against those lefty fascist communists who are leaning too far right.
Hi and welcome to Not Another Fake Newscast. I'm Paul.
And I am Jerry. Welcome back, Fake Newscasters. We have a cracking show in store for you today, we hope.
We also have a slightly nicer studio. We've managed to get some new equipment and we've been looking forward to it. We've done a lot of practice. So.
Yeah, thanks to all the Patreons and everybody who contributed to like the Amazon wish list and stuff. We had a great time in Ireland. Hopefully you have heard the swapcast we did. There'll be more video content, all that stuff coming. As always, you can find us on www.notanotherfakenewscast.com. All the links and stuff will be up there.
We're on Twitter at PGMcast. We're on Facebook at PGMcast. We're on Patreon at PGMcast.
And we're on YouTube at PGMcast. We're also on vid.me as well. We need some subscribers on there in order to get above the 50 so we can put longer content and stuff. So if you use vid.me, or even if you don't, sign up and subscribe to our channel on there, please. It would help us out.
I'd recommend having a look at vid.me anyway. There's a lot of content providers that are heading off there or heading to there from YouTube because different YouTube related problems that they're now having with the way that they're dealing with content and stuff like that. Also, we have a page on Minds. It's a bit racy over there, and by that I mean at times it's a bit racist over there. No, it's just it's a lot less managed and sorted than
mainstream.
Yeah, it's a lot less mainstream is probably the best.
There's a lot of crazy thought processes going on over there. It's not, I don't know, I haven't really looked at it that much because you've totally put me off it by your descriptions of the place. It doesn't sound like my cup of tea, but...
No, I mean, to be honest, I'd say a lot of it is more Republican mindseted than Democrat mindseted. In America, it's a lot of Americans that use it, so this episode's going to go down a fucking treat.
Well, yeah, so to let everybody know, we're going to be looking at gun control this week or this month. In the wake of the sort of Las Vegas shooting, a lot of people were talking about it, and it got me and Paul talking. We had discussed for quite a while looking into gun control, or not, as the case may be, and looking into the sort of statistics, the research behind it to see, do you need more gun control in America? Is it possible to control guns in America? Would it make any difference to crime statistics, mass shootings, these kind of things? And also to compare it to what the rest of the world are doing in relation to firearms.
Yeah, I mean, this has been kind of a hotbed one that we've been looking at for quite some time. We keep on putting it back and then people keep on getting fucking mass shot, essentially. So it keeps on coming to the forefront and news. The only problem is we know that really, no matter what the outcome of our decision is going to be, it's going to polarise someone. And when I say decision, just like the information that we find, like disclosure at the start straight away, the information to find on this isn't as easy as you would imagine. It's really, really not.
Yeah, that's totally true. Like that was the thing I think during the course of researching this that I found most surprising was that you kind of assume that there are lots of figures and statistics surrounding gun ownership and gun use in America. In fact, quite the opposite is true. What I found in the course of looking into this was that back in 1996 there was a bill or a tag on to a bill passed which basically meant that the Centre for Disease Control, CDC, we'll be calling them CDC for the rest of the podcast, so that's what that stands for.
Yep.
They were basically outlawed from doing any more research on gun control and gun crime. Now, we'll look at the reasons for that later, but essentially since 1996 up until 2012, there was no research done on gun crime at all by the CDC. In the wake of Sandy Hook, Obama got that bill changed so that the CDC were now allowed to research again, but that hasn't actually led to them doing it because there hasn't been funding in place for it.
Yeah, even if you look at the other people that were able to do studies in the time, it's kind of very hit and miss. There's a small arms study of 2007. There's some mixed pieces of information. Now, this isn't actually just an American thing. This is even worldwide. Obviously, you have the reason. So a lot of information gets skewed when you're looking at the figures because, for example, gun crime is first only ever going to be reported gun crime, and gun ownership is only ever going to be reported or registered gun ownership. So the amount of guns that are in a country is purely based on the amount of guns that people are saying are in the country rather than the amount of guns that are actually in a country. And but I mean, that's not an American only thing. That holds for the entire world pretty much.
Depends on the country though. I mean, obviously you can't get stats for illegally held guns in any country. Really, nothing accurate. What you can get is in a country such as Germany, where every firearm has to be registered, you can see how many registered firearms there are in the country. In America, though, a lot of states don't require registration, so it's all statistics which have been correlated, etc., from sources. But we'll look into that.
FBI gun crime as well. I mean, I was using that quite a lot because nothing is more cheerier than looking through the annals of the FBI's murder lists, which and there's some interesting statistics that come out of that as well, just from a couple of years. But yeah, so it's very, very difficult to pull the information. So yeah, I think.
But we put the effort in because you guys are worth it.
And it means that you don't have to, but you can still look like smart arses when you're arguing to your friends, which is what we try to do.
Full disclosure as well, I came into this very much of the mindset that I thought gun control was necessary in America, that I didn't think that there was enough, and that I thought, all these mass shootings, etc., they're happening because you need to ban guns in America. Now, having done a lot of research, I would say that my thinking on that has changed somewhat, but again, we'll go into that in the course of this episode.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny you should say that. So my opinion on things certainly changed throughout the course of this investigation. Anyway, but to kind of give you an idea of it being a cultural thing, certainly, if you look at the top 10 gun-owning countries in the world, for example, so from number 10, you can probably guess who number 1 is, but in at 10, yeah, if you're holding number 1 for the last forever, it's like the worst chart topper that you ever want to be. But yeah, so at number 10, you've got Sweden. You're looking at about 31-ish. It's 31.6 at this point, but it seems to fluctuate.
31.6 what, Paul?
That's guns per 100 heads, per 100 people that's in the
country.
So
per 100 people in Sweden, there are 30 guns.
Yeah, give or take, depending on what year it is, but somewhere in that region. Usually between about 28 to 32, but about 31.6 on average.
So to give our listeners, like say in the UK, a benchmark, how many guns per 100 people are there in the UK?
So there's 6.6 guns per 100 heads in the UK. So
okay, so Sweden have, right, okay, so that's actually, I didn't realise Sweden had that many guns, like.
It's going to get more. So there's a couple of countries in here that may or may not surprise you. I mean, like, actually, so I broke it down, we'll get to that. So the next country on the list is Uruguay. Now, I would also note that weirdly, Uruguay is the only country on the list that has... It's a South American country, not South African. I didn't move in there. But yeah, so it's the only country that's on the list that's South American. Personally, when I looked at the stats, I don't necessarily believe
that there's more guns per 100 people in Uruguay than there is in, say,
fucking
Brazil.
Venezuela, because Venezuela's up on one of the highest gun murder rates of a pile of countries that we'll get to later on, but certainly Venezuela's up much higher. So I don't believe that number's right. I believe that that's just, there is more accurate reporting in Uruguay because there is quite strict gun regulations in Uruguay, and I think that then has a knock-on effect where most of the people who have guns in Uruguay actually, as it turns out, on a report that I was reading, inherit them.
Right.
Because there's inheritance laws
For
governing
guns.
for guns in Uruguay, so people get guns
Right.
after dad.
So basically they have quite tight gun control compared to a lot of other South American countries, so they have more accurate stats.
They seem to have tighter gun control than certainly Brazil, Venezuela, Argentina. You know, the ones that have got a tendency to be affiliated with gang violence.
Right.
So and then you've got Iraq at 34.2. So that's when we're starting to get up. So I don't know. Uruguay was 31.8. So roughly the same as Sweden. You've got Iraq at 34.2.
But like, there's not that much more than Sweden. Like, you'd think there'd be fucking shit tons of guns in Iraq. Like,
again, though.
aye, well, yeah, right.
I would imagine regularly they're not showing up at ISIS camps just like, and how many AK-47s do you have, guys? Just like, well, I think it's a bit shooty bastard. So it's probably not quite an accurate figure, but that's the legal owned guns. Now, at that point again, something that we discussed before we even started recording was essentially, there is, I've got a list that we'll go to again later on, which is the amount of people who are killed in armed conflicts in various countries, and Iraq is consistently in the top 5 for the last 3 years anyway. And when I'm saying that, I mean you're talking about tens of thousands of people every year. Do you know what I mean? Like 20,000, 30,000, that type of number. So
It's going to skew the figures.
not only that, I'd be buying a fucking gun if I could.
Yeah, true.
Then you get Saudi, 35 per 100.
Yeah, but they have conflict going on within their borders and stuff.
Yeah, within their borders actually.
And also they're bombing fuck out of Yemen, but that's not relevant.
That's a different episode. We've got Cyprus at 36.4. Cyprus seems like a weird one, and it took me a long time to work this out. But see if you think about its logistics.
But when you think about Cypress Hill, we're always singing about
shooting, and they were just the ones that were on the hill. Imagine what the ones down the bottom of the hill are doing. No, but in actual terms, if you think about where they are geographically, logistically, to a lot of war-torn countries in the Middle East and stuff like that.
Also, Cyprus is partially owned by Greece and partially owned by Turkey, and there's been fucking war in that fought there in our lifetimes, I believe.
And and also we'll get to some stats later on, but Turkey punt guns all over the world as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so and then you've got Serbia at 37.8.
Again, the history of armed conflict in the pretty recent past.
Then you have Finland and Switzerland, roughly, give or take, they're the same. Both of them are 45.3 and 45.7 per 100.
But Finland have the White Death, like that guy, that mad sniper who killed all the fucking Nazis.
I don't think they have him now.
I know, but they had him, so as far as I'm concerned, they can have as many guns as they want. That motherfucker's cool. We'll put a link in about the White Death, man. You need to read about this guy.
Honestly, and it's just so we're clear. So other than his Nazi killing, which was his thing, he got shot in the face, nearly died.
That's done. So did 50 Cent.
Was in hospital, and he woke up the day the war ended from his coma.
Yeah, but did he go, I'm the motherfucking PMP?
No, I mean, rumour has it he had just shot out it after murdering millions of Nazis, and he was just pretending to be asleep until the war ended.
Okay, right, so Finland, yeah.
Then you've got Yemen at 54.8. Again, though.
Currently in the middle of the Civil War.
Yemen's a bit shitty. And then at number 1, you have the US at 88.8 per 100. So to put that into perspective, that's double the amount that Switzerland and Finland have. It's about 30 more per 100 than Yemen has, who is currently at war.
Yeah, but I would query that number as well, because when you told me that number, I was like, well, so where has that actually been calculated from? And I found another statistic about America which said that they had 357 million firearms in 2015 at a time when the population was 317 million, so that works out at 112 guns per 100 people, so more guns than people by 40 million.
So I actually seen a previous stat to both these stats that we're looking at where there was 101 guns per 100 people, which was a stat from round about the 2007-ish time. Actually, there was a suggestion in that stat that said that it hadn't particularly changed since around the 60s or 70s. There was roughly always 100 guns per 100 people.
Which sounds roughly like bullshit.
Not only that, it sounds quite like that we've to then accept that after 2007, people bought less guns in the United States. But
which seems unlikely.
yeah, so
at least what I will say is the 357 million. It comes from a relatively good source, which is a 2015 report from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, and it shows you all the workings. It's basically been calculated by it's got numbers between 1986 and 2013 basically, and it shows you how many have been made in the US, how many have been exported, how many have been imported every year, and I guess they've just totaled that up.
Well, actually, we'll get to that in just 2 seconds. Just quickly, what I done was, with that top 10 list, if you actually then look through the list, I decided to quickly check to see what would be the relevant factors that actually made people want to have guns in these countries, you know what I mean? What was the reasons behind them?
Yeah.
So, you remove Yemen, Saudi and Iraq because war is the answer to those 3. You then have Switzerland, Finland, Cyprus and Sweden all have mandatory military service. So every single person of age has to serve in the military as weapons trained.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they have to own them. What about all the people from the UK who are in the army? They don't all have fucking guns afterwards.
No, but on all these countries...
We don't have nationalised military service.
Yeah,
though.
but not including Cyprus, but Switzerland, Finland and Sweden, you all have, when you have to have licences to apply for your guns, you have to be able to show proficiency with your weapons, and literally every single person in the whole of the country has got proficiency with weapons because they've all been trained in the military. So they actually meet the criteria almost by default, providing that they're not fucking insane.
It might be a shit shot.
I mean, that's probably why it's not everyone per 100. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so it's just, that at least gives a justifiable explanation. For example, Switzerland is a freestanding army.
Yeah.
So you have to have a gun.
Why they have all those little knives?
Yeah, you have like little knives taped to the top of old shitty rifles, and they're hoping to fuck that nobody ever shows up for a war. Thankfully, they're all
Corkscrew your fucking eye out.
The biggest danger is obviously Cyprus Hill, because Switzerland's up a hill as well, and that means that they're in line with each other.
Switzerland's up a hill.
No, did you meet Switzerland, man? No fucking thing.
I'd say it's mountainous.
Up a hill. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I'm actually now Nazi saluting you as I shout that.
I was going to say, it's just a big hill made of fucking Nazi gold.
Aye, man, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, so because of that, there is essentially what I'm getting at is there is a viable reason for people to want or need to have a rifle. Do you know what I mean? They can be called up for service. They have already been in the military. This thing can happen. I mean, take Finland for example. The prime example that you used there was White Death. The reason he was out sniping Nazis and doing his bit was because he had served in the military. He did own a rifle, and he just went out into the fucking snow when the Nazis showed up.
Yeah, and sniped him in the snow because he was badass.
But that's because it's kind of a way of the country. Also,
way of the samurai.
Also, in Sweden, Finland, and Switzerland, the chances of you getting mauled by some fucking large predatory snow beast is substantially higher.
Did they have
penguins?
What did they have in Switzerland?
I don't know, man. Switzerland. Sorry, I just realised Finland and Sweden is what I was talking about there. No Switzerland.
Right.
You know, you've got your walrus. You're allowed to hunt fucking.
Your walrus.
Swiss walrus, dude. Swiss walrus. Anyway, that's a bit off topic. But yeah, my point being, they do hunting. You know what I mean? And they've got a reason to have the weapons, and they live in the arse end of nowhere where it's cold and unpleasant. Getting to Tesco isn't always the easiest thing in the world.
I think certainly I know in Norway you can get polar bears. I guess Sweden's probably the same. In the far north you could probably get polar bears.
Yeah, and like I said, you hunt for it. Yeah, definitely get wolves as well in both those countries.
Alright.
Yeah.
I'm not going there. That sounds fucking. We were talking about maybe going camping and shit in Norway, but we're not fucking doing that.
I'm going south. So we've got lots of people between us and the deadly.
Oh, so
when we were talking about camping in Norway, had you perceived we were going to go to the north of Norway, like near the North Pole?
I don't know. I never really thought about it.
Because we weren't.
Do you know that if you take Norway and you stand it up on its southernmost point and allow it to fall forwards in the southerly direction, where its northernmost point would land?
Yeah, it's Morocco.
Morocco, yes.
I'm now not telling that joke anyway.
Yeah, because fuck him.
Exactly, fuck him. Anyway, so that gives you an idea at least of the top 10. And the scary thing is the numbers. I mean, so you're looking at least for almost every country apart from Yemen, which I can't begin to stress, is in the middle of a war. there's more than double the amount of guns in the United States per 100 people.
Yeah, and also depending on what your source is, but there's way more by the looks of things. So the guns that are in the US then, this study that I had found from the firearms, tobacco, explosives, whatever the fuck else they do.
Bath toys.
It's a really weird. Is that? I mean, obviously it's for like prohibition and shit.
Firearms, tobacco, bath toys, Pornhub. I believe that's all the things that they manage.
Carburetors.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it shows you the amount of guns, for example, that are manufactured every year in the US. Now, the last year that it has numbers for is 2013. There were about 10.6 million guns made in America, and in 2008, so yeah, 5 years beforehand, there was about half that made, about 5 million. So it's trending massively upwards. They made 12 million in 2013, which is the last year that I can find definite numbers for. Of the 12 million, they exported exactly 393,000. So keeping quite a lot of them in country.
393,000 is like fucking it's like none. It's like nearly 1%. What is it, 3%?
Yeah, but it's okay because they offset the 393,000 that they exported by importing how many, Paul?
Do you want me to say the actual number, or do you want me to actually piss take here? Because I know the actual number is fucking ridiculous.
3.6 million imports in 2013. So
they exported 10% of what they imported.
Yeah.
Right. That's a failure in capitalism. That's
well, it's not really, because they're fucking able to sell all those guns because they've got fucking 357 million in them.
So we are presuming at that point that they are actually selling then that amount of guns in the year.
Well, I would suggest I don't actually, it doesn't tell you in here what percentage of them are being used by the military, to be fair. So maybe a lot of those guns have been made for military use. I would need to look further into that. But no, because if they were for military use, they were being exported out of the country, right?
The ones that are being exported out of the country are...
Yeah, they might be for military use, but the ones that have been imported and the ones that have been manufactured that haven't been exported, they are for private ownership. And I doubt that they're going to fucking more than double their output of making guns if they're not selling any.
Also, I can't imagine that the Department of Firearms, Tobacco, Jumping Ropes, jellyfish and pigeons are actually looking at
the Department of Blue Tack.
They are actually looking at what weapons the US military are purchasing.
Yeah.
I'd take a stab in the dark and say they're probably buying more than fucking 10 million guns in a year, but I can't be sure of that.
So the other thing that this report has is it tells you where the guns that have been imported into the US are being manufactured. So that was quite interesting because there was nobody on there that I had really expected to be. Top 7, just quickly, is Turkey, and at number 7 with 268,000. Canada, well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's north of the border. They probably build specialist weapons. I would imagine there's a famous Canadian gun manufacturer.
Probably. With 324,000. Brazil, 327,000. I wouldn't have thought fucking Brazil were exporting guns to the US. Germany, 338,000. Italy, 399,000. Croatia, 441,000. And coming in at number 1, Austria, with 807,000.
Although the information's sketchy, I would guess, and this is absolute guesswork, I would have to look into this a bit more because it's really difficult to find out, but I would imagine that you would probably see the Croatian guns that are coming in.
Yeah.
They're probably like Kalashnikovs and stuff like that coming in from, because I have seen programs about guns before where they talk about there's certain rules to do with AK-47s and manufacturing them in the US and importing them, and all sorts of rules, you know what I mean, to make it an AK-47. It would be really, really good if one of your listeners who is an American gun owner who knows more about the AK-47 rules and imports, because I know there is a whole set of stringent rules depending on where you are in the US and whether you can get it imported and exported, and Chinese made ones and American made ones and all sorts of rules, you know what I mean, essentially.
Well, China on there, China are like number 8 with 116,000, Russia are 50 odd thousand, like, so there are guns coming from other people. UK are exporting like 11,500.
That's because we're selling our fucking guns over to the Middle East and then fucking asking them to become our friends. Like, I think we covered that in an episode.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. So we know roughly then how many guns there are in the US. That's a fucking lot of guns, right? So what else do we know?
Oh, I think what we should do is we should maybe look at some fallacies of the US, some information that comes about. So, for example, there's things like there is a general consensus of a difference between black people and white people, and who gets involved with crimes and stuff like that, and who gets involved with shootings and that type of stuff. So we looked into that using FBI statistics, and there was some information that came up that genuinely shocked us. Like, so for example, if you are a white man in the United States of America, what is your percentage likelihood to get shot?
Your percentage likelihood to be shot as a white man is 0.0016%.
And if you're a white woman, what's the percentage chance of you getting shot?
0.0007%.
So if you're a white person as a whole, what is your chance of getting shot?
If you're a white person, your chance of getting shot in America, shot and killed.
Yeah, shot and killed, yeah.
So gun homicide, 0.002% as a white person.
So and then, if you're a black male, what is the chances of being shot?
0.013%. So like considerably more likely than, say, a white man, or like a white person. Even you're nearly 8 times as likely to be shot as a black man than as a white person.
And then what about black women?
A black woman is 0.002%, so exactly the same as a white person.
So a black woman has as much chance in America being shot as a white person.
Correct.
But a black man in America is like 8 times more likely to get shot or something.
Than a white person, yeah. So there's a massive... It's not that there's a massive disparity between black people and white people. It's that there's a massive disparity between black men and everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, and to give you an idea, that's all based on, the numbers we done was essentially based on per capita, so like looking at how many white people there was in the US, how many black people there was in the US, and then how many people are getting killed of those races and stuff, just so we could actually see what the percentage was for...
We had the total amount of black people is obviously a lot less than the total amount of white people, but we used the amount of white people who were killed, the total amount of white people, the amount of black people who were killed, the total amount of black people. Yeah,
because the actual number, just so you're aware, just for reference, is relatively similar, as in about 6,500 black people in the year or something similar to that, and about 5,300 white people, something in that region, wasn't it?
Yeah. In total, it was like 5,397 white people murdered and 6,095 black people.
Yeah, so I knew it was right.
By firearms.
Yeah, by firearms. So that's, but percentage-wise, I mean, essentially, if you're a black guy in the United States, the chances of you getting shot is dramatically higher.
But you know, you would need to look into the reasons for that, which we haven't necessarily done in this. In terms of my gut feeling, obviously you need to look at gang violence, black on black violence. You need to look at policemen shooting black people. You need to look at
general socio-economic issues. Yes. I mean, so essentially, like, it's a relatively well-known fact that in the United States, the United States government, for certainly a long time, people can argue whether or not it's the case now, but certainly for a long time, intentionally put black people and Hispanic people, but black people in ghettos, and that meant that there was more concentrated poverty in those areas, and where there's concentrated poverty there's going to be more crime, and where there's more crime there's going to be more gun crime. So that's why those numbers will be as high.
Yeah, fucking, like, I can really give a fuck about whether people are white or black. I would stick my neck out and say that the majority of those people that are getting murdered are from fucking poverty-stricken backgrounds, regardless of what fucking colour they are.
I would say probably, almost definitely. I mean, when we joked about it, complete disclosure, I say joked, but when we spoke about it, joke sounds rough, but what I mean is, when we were speaking about it, I made the passing comment that you would probably find that there would be high concentrations in particular cities that you would expect to be noted for being ghetto cities. You know what I mean? Certain parts of California, Detroit, stuff like that. And then there would be, from the white side of things, you would probably expect to see no more death to be in the southern states and the likes, just because it is... Stereotypes come from somewhere, do you know what I mean? And there's always... Like, that's where you would imagine you're going to see the numbers, but we've never actually... Looking into the socio-economic issues... And also another thing that we decided to remove from all of this is the suicide numbers from guns as well. Yeah. Because both those things are shows within themselves. I mean, we're not going to pretend that there's not massive socio-economic problems in America that causes problems.
Yeah, like there's around 33,000 homicides in the US every year at the moment, and about 22,000 of those are suicides.
Yeah, I mean,
So the vast majority, like 2/3 of the gun deaths in the US every year are suicides.
Well, it's actually the numbers that I got from a survey from a while ago. I think it was about 2011 or thereabouts, was suggested that gun deaths, so gun homicides, was about 3.6 per 100,000 in the US.
Right.
Gun suicides was like 6.3 per 100,000. So it was like essentially double.
Yeah, and that works out exactly as what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So 2/3 of them are suicides.
Oh yeah. I mean, so yeah, it's almost exactly what it is. But weirdly, there's other statistics that they give you, like undetermined and unintentional, which is, I don't really know how they use how they gauge those pieces of information. But yeah, so at some point we'll probably look at either a small episode or a standalone episode to do with probably suicide in its entirety. Do you know what I mean? In the way that it's perceived and the way it's done.
It'll be a fun show, Paul.
That'll be a fun one. And the socio-economic problems that cause a lot of the problems that they're having in America, because
I can see us expanding a little bit on this. Like, I would be very interested to look at the prison population and stuff in the US as well, and the amount of people who are in prison in America. But again, that's another show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in order to get a handle on, okay, we know that there are way more guns in America per 100 people than there are in any other country in the world. What do we know about gun homicide rates in the US compared to other countries in the world?
Well, surprisingly, it's not as bad as I expected that it was going to be. Now I firmly believe that's the way that the media portray it to us, as in, we are always told about murders in the US more than anything else.
I guess because it's you're being told about mass shootings, so that's what, like, it's a mass shooting is it's a fucking orgasm for the 24 fucking hour rolling news channels which we have
it
now. It
literally gives them a day of news.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't have to give
fuck
a shit.
all news. Like,
but they don't give a shit because
this is the guy's house where he lived, and now he's shot people. But look at his house, and just pish like that all fucking day.
Especially because in most cases the guy ends up dead. So it's now we're going to speculate on things about this man. He was old, possibly a lone wolf or a terrorist, depending on religion.
What colour he is. But yeah, we're just gonna like fucking stand around all day looking sad and talk about what a tragedy it is. Obviously, it's a fucking massive tragedy, right? Nobody wants to see mass shootings occur. But I believe, like, up until the Vegas shooting, the largest mass shooting that had ever occurred in the world was Anders Breivik in Norway, which, you know, relatively speaking, has a very, very, very low crime rate compared to most like industrialised Western countries.
I'll be looking at some Scandinavian countries relatively soon to actually talk about that. But so to give you an idea then, in terms of actual murder rate, the highest in the world relatively consistently. Well, first and foremost, I think I should say is the list that I'm going to start running through here now will provide. It is a really difficult to read graph because it can only be described as like a ball graph. It's not it's not anything I've ever seen before. It's like a fucking spiral ball thing. Like it's a weird thing to read. But essentially, it's showing all the countries and their maximum amount of murder per capita right round.
So that's murders altogether, not just gun murders?
Gun-related crime.
Right,
Firearm-related crime, yeah.
Firearm-related crime or firearm-related murders?
Firearm-related murders.
Right.
Right. Yeah, firearm-related murders. So, and number one, consistently, is like Honduras.
Alright, okay. So what's the... Okay, fine. As you go through that then, I am going to look at the gun ownership rates in these countries.
Okay.
Right, so the gun ownership rate in Honduras, according to this, for civilians, is between 9.9 and 11.24 per 100 people. So, like, America literally has 100 more guns per 100 people than Honduras, but Honduras has gotten more gun homicides.
We're going to see a theme though. Let's go to the next one. So the next one will be Venezuela.
Okay, so gun ownership in Venezuela is... You've got 11.2, so about the same as Honduras. And what was their murder rate?
About 64, give or take, per 100,000 people.
Right, so just a bit less than Honduras.
No, that was Honduras.
No.
What was Venezuela? About 50.
Right, okay.
So about 14 per 100,000, but obviously it's per 100,000, so I don't actually know what it equates to in the entire country. So and then after that you've got El Salvador.
These are all South American countries.
You'll notice there's a theme. To be honest, and you want to do this for everyone, there's a couple here before we get to America.
I'm alright with it.
Okay. So what you got with El Salvador?
El Salvador has exactly 9.7. So again, they're all much a muchness, eh?
So and then that's 46.55 per 100,000 people. So I mean again, much the same. You get 64, you get 50, you get 46. Now, what we'll do is we'll give you a quick run to when we get to America, and we can actually then talk about that in comparison then, right? So and then you've got Jamaica.
Yep.
A lot of these places are places we've visited, Jerry, and I'm not saying that this is all directly related. You're like, no.
I never took guns there.
No, but you murdered loads of guns.
Paul, fuck's sake, you said you wouldn't say that on the podcast.
So you've got Jamaica, you've got Swaziland, you've got Guatemala, you've got Colombia, you've got South Africa, you've got Brazil, you've got Panama, you've got Uruguay, you've got Mexico, then you've got the United States. Now you'll notice there is a theme there, two themes.
Well, America's the only first world industrialised country there.
So that's the first theme, and the other theme is almost all, apart from South Africa and Swaziland, are essentially South American countries as well.
So what's the actual number for America though?
So America is, in this graph, is 10.6, so about nearly 11 per 100,000.
Right, okay. Gun homicides.
Gun homicides, or firearm related deaths.
But I thought in the thing we were just looking at, they were only coming out at about 3.3 or something like that.
It all come down to the year though.
Ah, right, okay.
You know what I mean?
So what year's that based on?
I believe around about 2014. But so the problem is a lot of the graphs that are pulled across the board average out between about 2007 and 2014 because that was the last time that the results were ever pulled. So
right, okay, so they can't compare nations to exact years with each other.
No, you can't, because the problem you've got is...
Because there might have been a study done in Venezuela in fucking 2008, there might have been one done in America in 2013, whatever.
You also might, I don't know, say in Venezuela have like some kind of fucking massive civil war that totally throws off all the fucking numbers and you can't collect any information.
Alright.
And then...
Why was that not reduced, Paul?
sure somebody's mentioned it once or twice. So you've got, like I said, it's quite noticeable though that even if you go to the other side of the United States, you then have Argentina, Montenegro, Paraguay, Nicaragua, and then Estonia. Estonia in that list is the first one that is essentially the first one of what is like middle European-ish area country, do you know what I mean, that's in that list. Everything before that, other than, Montenegro is actually there, but they've had some problems.
That's what they say about Montenegro.
But then Swaziland and South Africa, if you move the three of them out the way...
Estonia has how many gun homicides per 100,000?
2.54, so 3, essentially.
That's quite interesting. Just because, I know from, say, as an example, right, there are only 8 recorded cases of assault per 100,000 in Estonia. It's one of the lowest in the OECD countries. So
unfortunately, 3 of them are murder with guns.
It's just weird that it would have such a low number of folk battering each other, but every so often they kill each other. I wonder I don't know much about Estonia. I wonder if they have gang issues or maybe ex-Soviet mafia still kicking about.
That's the thing. I'd make a sweeping statement because a lot of Eastern...
Because fuck it.
Because that's what I love to do. No, because a lot of Eastern Bloc countries do you know what I mean? They still have remnants of Soviet Union corruption and stuff in the streets, from being over in some of the countries and from knowing people that have been to some of the countries. It does come up.
So we know that the gun ownership in the UK was, what was it again? 11? About 11?
6.6.
Or 6.6, sorry. Out of 100. So homicide in the UK. So homicide, intentional homicide in America. And so what I'm looking at here, actually, just to pull it back a little bit, is comparisons of crime in OECD countries. It's taken from a UN survey of crime trends. And
is this all compiled? Is this all compiled in gun.org?
No, it's on civitas.org.uk. But what it has is comparative homicide numbers for OECD countries. Mexico is at the top in this.
You know me, OECD, yeah, you know me!
With 18.1, so it's by far the largest. But in terms of intentional homicide, so we're not only talking guns here, which is something that we need to look at, because what a lot of anti-gun control people will tell you is that while America may have higher levels of gun homicide, they don't have, it's no way in keeping with the amount of guns that they have. So they have 112 per 100 people. You would expect their gun homicides to be fucking enormous in comparison to the UK with 6.6 per 100 people. But they're not that far above them in terms of numbers per 100,000 of population or whatever. What's the UK's number for gun homicides per 100,000?
Oh, they're not even on this list. Because this list peters off when it gets to this list finishes at Israel, to give you an idea. So so we're below Israel as it turns out for gun related homicides. Weirdly, the number does massively fall off when you get to Estonia. So Nicaragua is 7.26, Estonia is then 2.54. So the numbers of countries in fucking the Americas, I'm not going to lie here, see in the Americas, see from Canada to the bottom of fucking South America, you are substantially more likely to get shot than you are anywhere else in the world. Literally anywhere else in the world. Yes, there's more guns, yes, there's other things that we're going to look at to do with other crime and stuff like that, but you are more likely to get shot if you're in the Americas than you are anywhere else in the world. Which I think is another thing that kind of highlights possibly a cultural problem rather than anything else, do you know what I mean?
Well, and they're third world countries and stuff as well, a lot of these places.
A lot of these places are third world countries. America doesn't really have an excuse in those terms.
No. But okay, so the UK gun homicide rate per 100,000 was 0.23 in 2011. That's the best stat that I can get. So in comparison to the US, if we're saying that US was setting up like 3.3.
Somewhere between 3.3 and 10, depending on what graph you're looking at, but essentially somewhere in that region.
It is a level of magnitude, obviously above the UK, but perhaps not when you consider the amount of guns that they have. And what I started looking at was, you know, a lot of anti-gun control people will tell you that while there are more gun homicides in the US in comparison to some other countries, overall crime is less than a lot of countries that don't have guns.
So then, we were discussing this, and my obvious issue with that was, take the UK, or take France, or take Germany. They have, for the most part, a unified gun law in the country, give or take. They have, generally speaking, the entire country operates under the same law. Whereas in the US, you will have states where you can carry guns. There'll be US where you can buy assault rifles. There'll be states where you can do neither of those two things. So it makes it... So my concern when Gerald brought that up was essentially...
Gerald?
I know, it's Sunday, right?
No.
My concern was that the numbers even out across the whole of the US. So essentially, does it necessarily mean that if you've got a gun on you, are you less likely to be a victim of crime?
Okay, but so what we can do is after this we can look at differing states in the United States of America, right? But if we need to compare apples with apples, okay? Yeah. You're suggesting that we're not by comparing the whole of America, but if we're going to compare it with another country, we have to take the countrywide figures.
So we can't compare like apples with, like, I don't know, Samsungs, for example.
Oh, that's shite. Right, so Estonia, according to this, actually has a higher level of intentional homicide than the US. It's 5.2 per 100,000. The US has 5, but the US is still the third top in the OECD countries. By way of comparison, Scotland, for example, is 1.6 homicides per 100,000.
Just quickly, remember when the graph that I was doing was firearm related deaths.
I know.
So what I mean is that's going to have included suicides and police intentional murders and stuff like that, whereas you're talking about homicides at this point, so that figure is then slightly different. Just so you know that when I was saying it was 10 point whatever, the 10 point whatever is essentially the...
Yeah, it's including homicides.
Yeah, it's including suicides, it's including all the other bits as well, so that's why the number
That's why it's different. Yeah. So this is not gun homicides, this is overall homicides, which if you're talking to an anti-gun person who is telling you that, you know, you need to look at overall crime with countries which have gun
knife crime
and which
and
don't.
all the other bits that happen.
So the US is the third highest in terms of homicide, intentional homicide overall. The UK, who have relatively little guns,
little tiny ones that you can fit in your pocket.
England and Wales are 1.1 compared to the 5 in the US. The murder rate in Scotland is slightly higher than that because we are all mental. Northern Ireland is 1.2.
Because we're always murdering pints.
Australia, who, you know, famously
an entire island of criminals.
No,
I know what you're going to say. No.
Banned guns after Port Arthur.
They
are sitting with 1.2 per 100,000. So like nearly a fifth of the homicide rate of America. So in that respect, the countries without guns are definitely killing less people. That's provable.
Yeah.
If you go on to other types of crime, for example, if you want to look at rape cases per 100,000 of the population, Australia, a non-gun having country.
There's literally no way that this can be a comedy bit either. There's no way that this can be a joke, so we'll just do the numbers fast and get this out of the way. 91.9
in Australia, by far the most. Like Sweden is the next largest one and it's 58.6. So Australia with...
Is that per... What 98?
Per 100,000.
So nearly 100 rapes per 100,000 people.
Yeah, well, 90, about 92, basically.
So like 1% of people in 100,000 or
The US by comparison is 28.6. So you are much more likely to be raped in Australia, like 3 times, more than 3 times as likely to be raped in Australia.
Actually, nearly 4 times, I think that.
No, it's like it's between 3 and 4, but it's closer to 3. The so there's a bit of an argument in favour of guns, perhaps. Although there are factors that you need to take into account. For example, rapes might be more likely to be reported or prosecuted in Australia than they are the US.
Indeed, so when we're talking about this, although first because it's a difficult one to handle, but also not to make light the subject or anything, rapes are a personal crime, as in someone can be raped and never show signs of being raped, so don't ever have to report it and stuff like that. This isn't like a robbery that happens, or a car theft that happens, or a home break-in or something like that, a home invasion that happens. There are usually signs or things that are lost and stuff like that are physical attributes, whereas there can be lots of people that aren't reporting rape. I mean, a prime example right now is the stuff that's happening in Hollywood. There's people that are now coming out who are reporting sexual assault and stuff that had never reported it before from the last fucking 30 years. So that figure, I would imagine, in every country, including Australia, is probably much higher. It's just these are the reported ones.
Okay, but we can only look at the stats that we've got, and that would seem to be an argument to me that perhaps having guns, it's better than not having guns if you don't want to get raped.
So what about something like robbery or home invasions or something like that? Something that's quantifiable in a way that's more quantifiable like that.
So robbery, the top country in the OECD for robbery, I mean, I say top, bottom, basically.
And coming in at number 1
is Belgium, weirdly, actually, with 1,762 cases of robbery per 100,000. Since Spain with 1,188. Mexico are in there, then Chile, Portugal with 192.
So Spain and Portugal?
Yeah, so France as well, England and Wales with 137, all come in front of the US for robbery. So
from Belgium right down to Portugal is a bad place to get fucking robbed. That's
But there's more people getting robbed in the UK than there is the US. We don't have guns. Belgium, I guess obviously I've got a lot less gun ownership than the US. Spain, Portugal and France have less gun ownership than the US. They have more than the UK. But yeah, that again would seem to be an argument that maybe having guns isn't that bad. Obviously, I would say that there are a lot of countries which have less than the US too. But, the US, basically it's not doing that badly.
Belgium actually might throw a spanner in the works a wee bit here, because Belgium has a lot less than America, but Belgium has 17.2 guns per 100 people, which is substantially more than... It's almost the same amount as, weirdly, France.
I thought France was about 30.
20... Between 26 and 32, depending again on the year, do you know what I mean?
Okay, but France has more guns and less robbery.
Okay, I'll accept that. I'm just saying that, so Belgium actually has 17.2 guns per 100, which is more than I even presumed that Belgium had, to be honest.
Me too, actually.
I had never really thought about how many guns they have in Belgium.
So, do you want to hear the numbers on assault?
I have a feeling we're noticing a theme here, but continue.
Well, first of all, I was very, very, in some ways, proud to find out that Scotland comes in right at number 1 with by quite a way the most numbers of recorded assault per 100,000 with 1,487. It's Scotland, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
We're hard as fuck.
Then it was Sweden with 927. England and Wales are third, but with like half as many as us.
So Sweden are on the list for assaults and for rape.
Yeah.
Both second in both cases.
Yeah.
Sweden seems like quite a shitty place to be.
What kind of level of guns does Sweden have?
Quite high.
In
the top 10.
Okay. which gives them how many?
35 per 100.
All right, okay, so that is quite high.
In that region.
So there's maybe an argument against the gun thing.
Yeah. I mean, it is still like fucking less than half of what the US have.
But US, so we're on assault. You've got Scotland, Sweden, England and Wales, Belgium, Israel, Germany, Finland, Chile, Luxembourg, Ireland, Netherlands, Iceland, Australia, Portugal and France all have more cases of assault per 100,000 in the US.
If you just give me 2 seconds, just because you mentioned another one there that I'm pretty certain. I think Iceland has 30 guns per 100 as well.
So, but they all have less guns in the US.
Man, every country on earth has less guns in the US.
But more...
The British Army has less guns in the US.
But more crime.
But more crime, yeah. But you're saying that if every... There's more than... At one point there was more guns than there was people in the US. So if like every single person has a gun, like man, woman and child... Like,
but that's not... They don't know. There's just less people with fucking like 20 guns, you know?
I know, but the average states that everybody's got a gun.
Yeah, but I read the statistic. I'll stick the link up. But it was basically saying that like something like 40% of households have gun ownership in America.
So going with the statistics, and we will get back to Iceland and Sweden, right? Because they sit in the 30 range. And that's a range that I was looking at one point, and I've got the difference in the gun ownership because I kind of feel that my opinion, like I kind of said at the start, my opinion dramatically changed on this, where I went into this believing that the problem was the amount of guns that they had in the US. Essentially, the thing that a lot of anti-gun people believe, and the thing is, just as disclosure, I'm not against guns in actual sense. I like shooting guns. I enjoy it. Like, I mean, I'm not against guns.
Like in like a rifle range.
I go God in a shooting range, and I'm just like like drive-bys and that, like popping caps and stuff.
Would you hunt?
God no.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't be interested in hunting an animal or anything like that.
Have literally no desire to hunt in the slightest.
Like I wouldn't.
So I would hunt if I had to hunt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't hunt for sport, but I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with like killing something that I was going to eat.
I would have a problem with killing something that I'm going to eat while I live like in Scotland and I can get to Tesco. Okay,
well, put it this way. So an animal like deer in Scotland have to be culled because there are too many of them and they destroy the countryside. So every year they have to be culled. So that they are going to be killed anyway. And no, hold on a minute. And they're tasty as fuck.
Yeah, they are.
So I wouldn't have a problem with shooting a deer.
Would you have a problem shooting a cow?
Yeah.
But it's going to get killed.
Yeah, but there's more humane ways to kill a cow than shooting it.
But shooting it in the head is probably not any worse than shooting it in the head with a bolt gun.
Yeah, okay, well, I don't... It's not sport shooting a fucking cow.
What if it's running? What was a running cow?
If a cow's running at me, I'll shoot it in the fucking head for sure, like, because that would be scary. But no, I wouldn't shoot a cow. I think I would shoot a deer. Obviously, I don't really know until I'm in the position. I might not be able to pull the trigger, but I think in my head, I don't really have a moral issue with going out and shooting a deer. And yes, I have. When I lived in Abu Dhabi, I shot guns, handguns, and sniper rifles and stuff in proper sports facilities for shooting, and enjoyed it. Yeah, but I also am quite happy that I live in a country where guns are not prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, like, so just to kind of get to what you were asking there, I will butcher an animal, just so we're clear. I have no problem doing that. I mean, I cook a lot, as you're aware, so I have no problem doing that side of things. But I don't believe that I live... I do believe that I live in 2017, but in 2017...
That's handy, because I was about to fucking phone up the mental health people.
In 2017, I don't believe there is a need or justification for me to hunt. Now, if I was in Sweden, in Alaska, in Canada, and cut off from the rest of the world for a percentage of the year because of fucking snow and ice and I had to hunt stuff and store stuff, then that's a necessity. And my views on that, I believe, as I sit here right now with like Tesco a spitting distance away, would be different. I believe that I would be able to in that situation because otherwise death would be quite high on the list of things that were going to happen.
But there's also, like, there's a justification for having guns in, say, Canada or the US because they have animals which can kill you.
Oh shit, man! If I could buy a gun and I lived in a country where I could walk outside and be faced by some kind of apex predator that could beat me in a toe-to-toe fight, then I would own a gun.
It depends on your geographical location in America, obviously, but yeah, like if you lived up north, man, and you're maybe gonna, or I don't know,
anywhere the fucking Yosemite stuff, anywhere there's wolves and bears
yeah.
and fucking, you could wake up in the morning and walk outside and be confronted by like a wolf with a bear, like maybe a bear with a wolf on its shoulder.
Bear wolf.
A bear wolf, that's the one. A bear that throws wolves at you, for example. I would at that point have shotguns.
A bear with its bear arms.
Yeah, because it's got that right, Jared.
It's got it right.
In America, that bear has the right to its bear arms. So, that went a bit mad, but let's go back and I'll ask you the question I asked you earlier. So, looking in the US, if you're in a state that... Oh, better question. In the US, is there a state which is the safest regarding rape and assault and home break-ins and that type of shit? Essentially, if you were choosing a state to live in America, where has the least amount of that crime?
Okay, the lowest rate of violent crime in total is in Vermont. It also has one of the lowest murder rates. So murder is, again, by 100,000.
The classic measure.
So I think the highest is 10.3, which is in Louisiana. Vermont has 1.6, so it's one of the lowest. It has
1.6 per 100,000. I mean, there's another thing that just quickly to put into perspective before you go any further, that see when you talk about states in America, see for anyone who doesn't live in America and who has never been to America and who's never really understood the sheer vastness of America, like, see like Florida, which is a relatively small state, it's like the geographical size and has the population of like the whole of the UK, do you know what I mean? Like, so just when we're talking about like, you could almost...
And they have alligators.
They do.
That's another reason they have a gun.
Oh, exactly. But what I mean is, every state in the US is fundamentally the same size as like the UK or bigger, do you know what I mean? And its population in a lot of cases is similar. So because of that, you always have to take that into account when you're looking at... So you're comparing it, so essentially it's 1 point... What? For Vermont?
1.6.
So...
But it's per 100,000.
Yeah, but compare that to like the UK, which is like 6.6.
Yeah.
No, is that for gun ownership?
6.6 was for gun ownership. You want the rate of homicide in total in the UK? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, so the rate of homicide is like 0.24.
No, intentional homicide in the UK. You put me on the spot here, Paul. It is
0.06.
Oh, well, it's 1.1 for England and Wales. It's 1.6 for Scotland. So Vermont is you're exactly as likely to be murdered in Vermont as you are in Scotland.
I would take a stab in the dark without looking at the population of Vermont, that Vermont has got a much greater population.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
No, that's not what I mean. All I mean is though, like Scotland's a tiny little place, so, and it's got a high level of assault. And you know, we've already discussed the fact that it's quite aggro in Scotland anyway.
But we've got fuck all guns.
But we don't have any guns, so we can only presume that if we had guns, there'd probably fucking more people getting killed in Scotland because. So Vermont anyway. So
Vermont, it has the second lowest amount of rape of any of the states at 17.6.
That's what it says on the sign. You are now entering Vermont.
Robbery is 11.2. per 100,000, which is again the second least. Aggravated assault is 100 No, sorry, 68.9 per 100,000, which again is the least, I think, in the US of all the states.
So to all our American listeners, move to Vermont, right?
But Vermont,
So what's his gun laws then?
you do not require a state permit to purchase long guns or handguns. You do not require firearm registration. There's no assault weapon law. There's no restriction on magazines. There's no owner license required. You do not need a carry permit. It is open carry. You can openly carry a gun. There's no NFA weapons are not restricted, and there's no background checks required for private sales. So you can basically do whatever the fuck you want.
So is that an anomaly? What's the next safest state on the list?
I believe the next safest, according to this, is...
Was it not New Hampshire?
Yeah, New Hampshire has the next lowest rate of violent crime at 196.1. It has a lower murder rate than England and Wales or Scotland at 0.9 per 100,000. Rate of rape 44.8. Rate of robbery is 40.5, sorry, and aggravated assault is 110 per 100,000. So yeah,
So it's a pretty damn safe state as well, in the grand scheme of the states.
yeah.
So, and what's its gun laws?
New Hampshire, we are looking at no state permit to purchase, no firearm registration, no assault weapon law, no restriction on magazine capacity, no owner license required, no carry license required. You can open carry. No restriction on NFA weapons, and no background checks required for private sales.
Seems like a...
So you really can do whatever the fuck you want. NFA's National Firearms Act, by the way.
Right. So it seems though like that the information is pointing to that the states that have got less laws on guns are safer.
Well, you would have to look at states which have like strong gun ownership laws, I guess, to check that out.
So I mean, yeah. So I mean,
so let's look at where has the highest rate of violent crime. So
Washington
that's
State,
DC.
Washington DC.
So you do need a permit to purchase long guns and handguns. It's got yes to firearm registration for both of them. There is an assault weapon law. There is magazine capacity restriction. You do need an owner license. You do need carry permits. There's no open carry. NFA weapons are restricted, and there are background checks required for private sales. So it's the polar opposite of like Vermont and New Hampshire.
For both gun laws and for crime. Yeah. That's a worrying statistic, do you not think? I mean, that so again, a kind of full disclosure thing to everyone, this is why my opinion on the way that gun crime is viewed in the US changed when I was looking at these numbers. I'm not...
But the other thing I would say though is there a bit of a chicken and egg scenario to that? Are the gun laws really lax in Vermont because there's not that much crime, so nobody has concerns about the amount of guns there are? Are they strict in DC because there's loads of fucking crime and they're trying to reduce it by putting loads of laws in place? Now I'm not suggesting that means that the laws are working, but I'm suggesting that, you know, maybe it's not that there was no crime at all in DC and then they brought in all these laws and then all of a sudden all this crime happened.
I mean, you could easily perceive another scenario as well, where if you've got an entire country where it's relatively easy to get a hold of firearms, and you know there's one place where nobody's got firearms and you're right heavy into robbery, that's where you're going to go, because you know that nobody's got a gun and you do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that's definitely what's happened, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of factors that have shaped America and the way it is, much as what you're alluding to, essentially the policy of a state might be that they don't need to have lots of weapons because there's not loads of crime, rather than...
Not they don't need to have lots of gun laws.
Sorry, not if they have weapon laws, because there's not loads of crime. And the inverse is they have to massively crack down on guns because literally everybody's shooting each other. Curiously...
And the problem that you have, right, is that how do you do the research? If you want to see if crime decreases in Washington by changing the laws, the only way to do it is to do it. And over time, now that might be an incredibly irresponsible move to make, but without research, there's no way of knowing for sure. The fact that they have pulled funding basically
for research
doesn't help at all. And actually, I looked into this, and basically a lot of pro-gun people, NRA types and whatever, basically said that the CDC was not fit for purpose because it was a body that was actively looking for reasons to implement gun control, and so it wasn't a fair and independent body, and that was why that law had to be put in place. And if that is true, then they're not the people to be doing that research, because the whole point of science is that it should be unbiased. Yeah. But I mean, but so to me as an outsider, it looks to me as if you need to set up an entirely independent body that's going to please all parties. But you need to do some fucking research. You can't just say we're not going to look into this at all, because there's a possibility that people could be safer, and maybe they might be made safer by, in the likes of DC, relaxing gun laws. But the only way to find that out is to pay for funding and do proper research. So it might back your cause up. But I don't see what the point is in holding an opinion on something that you're not willing to change, no matter what the evidence is. So as me and you have both freely admitted, me certainly, I came into this massively in favour of gun control, but the things that I have found when I've looked into statistics have made me slightly change my mind on that, because I'm a person who is, I just want to look at evidence and look at science and make my mind up based on that, right? I would like to think that the majority of people are prepared to change their mind based on evidence, and if somebody comes to you with evidence that you could save, fucking all of these people's lives who have been killed in mass shootings by changing the law. And it doesn't necessarily mean taking guns away from people. I understand that there is a culture in the US people believe really strongly in. They believe in the right to bear arms, etc. But you can still have guns, but have them registered. Doesn't mean they're taking your guns away. They're just trying to make sure that, Germany.
So on that, so exactly that. So this is where I had a moral dilemma, because I was like, I can't believe in my heart of hearts that that the best solution is just arm every gun. Because there is something that my logical brain says, no, that just doesn't make any fucking sense. So removing the US because it's a fucking anomaly, because it's got a bazillion guns.
It's got way more guns than anyone else.
And like I said, each state has slightly different laws, and each state is about the size of a fucking standard sized country, so it makes it very difficult to actually regulate. So what I done was I looked at the countries in the world that had about 30 guns per capita, per 100 people, sorry. As it turns out, there's a reasonable amount of countries that actually fall under this scenario. And I looked at their laws and their deaths per 100,000, and I looked at what that could teach us, what that could teach America, because it might not teach them anything, but what could it teach America? So the absolute top of the list, actually, quick mention to Iceland here, who are the absolute top of the list, because Iceland have about 30 guns per 100 people, and they have 0 gun-related deaths. 0 gun-related deaths.
There's only about 100,000, 130,000 people in Iceland though, right?
Well, aye. So so Like, essentially what you're saying is if 10 people get killed, it would be that's a reasonable percentage of the population that would then be murdered by a gun.
Yeah.
Like, I get that.
Or even, like, they would only need one to have more than fucking New Hampshire.
Yeah, and also, following that, it means that there were like 30 guns in the country.
No, it's 30 per 100.
Oh, you make a good point. But it's still there's like 30,000 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's not that many guns in the whole country in the grand scheme of things. It's difficult to get the actual laws from certain countries, but I've pulled the information that I can. So essentially, just quickly, Iceland, as a notable mention before we go into the shining beacon that is Germany.
Do you think Kerry Katona and Peter Andre had anything to do with that? It was in Iceland.
Oh, it was an Iceland joke, right? Okay. I'm glad that you slagged my shit joke in because I made that shit joke.
That's just for all the Americans listening. They'll love that one.
I love the old supermarkets in the UK joke.
And celebrities they've never heard of who advertise.
So essentially, you can get hunting rifles, semi-automatic rifles, but most people hold gun licenses for semi-automatic shotguns, bolt-action rifles, single-shot rifles, double-barrel rifles, and it's all for hunting. It's all...
This is Iceland.
For hunting, yeah.
For like shooting puffins and shit.
Aye, for like fucking probably massacring whales, I believe they possibly still do in Iceland.
Whoa.
It's actually for shooting bankers, I believe.
Yes. I fucking love Iceland, actually.
They can fucking hunt bankers all day. Anyway, you can get a collector's license for handguns and sports guns, but in the grand scheme of things, it's hunting rifles. It's single-shot hunting rifles. It's difficult to get a hold of semi-automatic rifles, and most handguns are banned. And that's a small population, and they do hunt, and they have 0 deaths, and that's why they're a special mention. They don't, because of this, such a small population.
Yeah, but they still have 30 per 100. They still have a lot of guns in that population, a lot of guns floating about, and nobody's killing anybody. Icelandic folk seem sound. They fucking put their bankers in jail when they fucked their economy.
They get rid of McDonald's because it was fucking barking.
Yeah, they did get rid of
They get rid of their whole... They fuck off.
They get rid of their whole parliament and just crowdsourced their own fucking constitution over the internet.
Because the parliament was corrupt, so they fucking told them in bolt.
Get them.
They actually showed up at the door. And they've got hundreds of guns, but they don't shoot any. I mean...
It's cold as shit though.
Yeah, it's cold. Although, I believe that they've got like thermal vents and like bubbling water.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it's cold.
And Bjork.
And
their national team beat England. And
so,
the Euros.
And you know they've still got active volcanoes.
And they do that thing where they go, oh, I missed the clap.
And they do throat singing stuff as well. You know, like that
Fuck off.
type of. It's really fun, man. It's really fun. I'm going to fucking find that for you. It's crazy shit. Anyway, I might, if I can remember and I can find something and we're legally allowed to put it up, I will post a video of mad Icelandic throat singing because it's fucking crazy. So we'll go to Germany. And this...
We're finishing the podcast.
Because the Germans are going to have real struggling time to listen to us speak English because that sentence was horrendous. I'm so sorry.
The Germans are going to have really struggling times with us.
Struggling time. So that was a bit offensive to me. 0.07 deaths per 100,000 people.
0.07?
Yeah.
I have intentional homicide at 0.8 for Germany, but it's still amazing. They're like,
this is firearm deaths.
Ah, right, okay.
As opposed to fucking.
But even they have, as well as what you're saying, they have like one of the lowest. I think they're the 6th spot in OECD countries for intentional homicide rates, but they have 30 guns per 100. 30
guns per 100. I give or take. All these people here on this list at some point over the last couple of years have been sitting around the 30 guns per 100.
In fact, Germany feature like really low on rape cases, on robbery.
They've got a consistent national football team.
There's 60 cases of robbery per 100,000 in comparison to like 137 in England and Wales, or
they went through a bad spell at the turn of the century, last century. They went through a wee bad spell where it was.
I mean, it was a good fuck it. It was like the first half of last century. They didn't go so well for them.
Exactly. I mean, it was a bad time for them. But they've pumped themselves up.
They've fucking
turned themselves around.
They've sorted themselves right
absolutely,
out. Pronto.
And just as a quick note, Germany gets used all the time as a comparison with immigration problems and all the other stuff that happens in the world. But see if you actually look at the stats, the crime rate in Germany is low as fuck, man. It just is low as fuck. Like,
yeah, and they take loads of fucking immigrants, and they took like way more Syrian refugees than any other country in Europe, I think. But because they needed them for cheap labour, so it's not like they were like, you know, doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
So as we're using the 30 guns per 100 as the benchmark here for what I'm going to class, and no offence to Americans in this, but as a reasonable, normal amount of fucking guns to have in your country.
Yeah, because it's not really normal to have like
more guns
40 million more guns than people. That's pretty mental.
I mean, like that's a lot. That's a lot of guns. Like essentially saying like you have enough guns for 1/3 of your population. I mean, so 30 per 100 people. You know what I mean? So 1/3 of your population seems. Probably, I would still say excessive, but it seems reasonable, and it seems there's a lot of countries that follow.
There's a lot of countries that have it and get along just fine.
So it was a great reference. So some rules for Germans getting guns. You have to be at least 18 years. You have to prove your trustworthiness.
You have to be at least 18 years. Like, again, you're talking like a German person trying to speak English.
No, yeah, it's because I'm reading it and it's written.
You have to have at least 18 years.
So remember, I'm reading this list. It's been translated from German.
Oh, that'll be why. Yeah.
So, 18 years passed, right? So but you have to be 18 at least. You have to prove your trustworthiness, which I don't know what the test is.
What's the
kind
test
of like
for
the
that?
idea that they'll put you in a room with like a bag of Haribo. And you're just like, you're not allowed to take any of those Haribo, and then they leave the room, and then they see if you take any Haribo, and if you take Haribo, you're not allowed to gun.
Not allowed to gun.
Like,
I mean, that's harsh.
Citation needed. So unclear.
Libel.
Drake. Personal adequacy.
Fuck off. How is that?
You have to show your personal. You have to show you're an adequate person.
Does it mean like proficiency with a weapon, or it just means what?
No. So I think it has to show that you're an adequate person, because the next one is actually expert knowledge. You have to show that you understand the weapon, you understand the cleaning.
Well, like I'm sorry, but how are you supposed to implement like? I understand that the
1/3 of the country have got fucking guns, so it's not that difficult.
I know, but I don't understand what the method is for these things. Like,
well, that's because thankfully you're not involved in the testing for guns in Germany, then, Jerry.
What did they do? Just check that they didn't kill any fucking Jews or something?
Doubt it. There's 1/3 of the country that have got guns.
Whoa.
I might have to redact that sentence. But anyway, and necessity. Like, do you need to have a gun?
Right, okay.
So essentially, if you can have a license, and it entitles the owner to purchase firearms and handle it on their own property and any private property that is either theirs or with the owner's consent. On public premises, the firearm must be transported and unloaded and in a stable, fully enclosed locked container. It doesn't permit people to shoot the weapons or carry it in a public premises without the prescribed container, and owners must obtain a mandatory insurance for the gun for you to have it. So it is quite strict laws, right? This is where it gets good, and this is where I believe America.
Well, the other one I saw about Germany was that to buy a gun, anyone under the age of 25 has to pass a psychiatric evaluation.
Well, this is what I'm going to get to. So this is where America could possibly learn from Germany, because people who can't buy guns, convicted felons, seems reasonable. People who have a record of mental disorder,
seems reasonable.
And my favourite, people who are deemed unreliable.
That's so German, isn't it?
That includes people who have drug or alcohol addiction histories and are known to be violent or aggressive people. But not a convicted felon, so just known to be like angry and drunk.
So what? I guess you need to like have references from like sort of people who are also considered to be decent folk, like maybe have a decent job or
Priests,
whatever.
politicians, police.
What? Try again, Paul. Priests and politicians.
That's generally the rule when it comes to getting a passport signed or something like that. I would imagine that it's something very similar, but you need references.
I mean, priests.
I know I couldn't have actually chose two least reliable, less dodgy people, but that's the rule in the UK. If you'll get your passport signed, for example, people who own companies, people who have got passport, people who are politicians, people who are working the clergy, that type of people.
Okay, but and like doctors and stuff like that, I think you can get your passport signed by a doctor in the UK. But yeah, I mean, like those all sound like pretty sound common sense fucking. And I guess all of the, as you said before, all of the weapons have to be registered and shit as well.
Yes, so you can have more than one gun, but essentially, and this is actually in a lot of situations for a lot of these countries, if you have more than one gun, you just have to start justifying why you're fucking mad and you need tons of guns. Essentially, like, I need a gun to protect my livestock from rabid wolves. Not a problem, there's a gun. I need another 3 guns. Why? You literally have 2 arms and you can only fire that shotgun with 2 of those arms. So yeah, that's kind of how it works in Germany. There is slight changes to the rule because there's certain things that fall under it. Things like hunting and competitive shooting and firearms licenses that have different colour-coded licenses that you have to perform different rule sets to be able to...
Maybe be part of like a gun club and stuff and prove that you are like using it for sport and stuff like that.
You need to have, yeah, so you actually have to have approval from associations from each of the firearm sports and that type of stuff. And so you can still own high-powered rifles, you can still own needlessly over-the-top weapons, but you have to have essentially, you have to justify why you're doing it rather than just being allowed to walk into a gun shop in Hampshire and purchase yourself a 50 caliber sniper rifle, for example. You know what I mean? Which
seems fair enough to me. Like, I guess one of the things that I came across when I was doing the research was people kind of saying, if they bring in this gun control, it's not going to take the guns out of the hands of the criminals. Now, that's a shitty attitude to have towards anything, because that's basically like saying, well, you can't
fuck drug control.
Yeah, you can't make anything illegal because folk will still do it. I think if you are a responsible gun owner who is not psychologically fucking impaired, then you've not got anything to worry about. You're still going to be able to keep your guns in that situation. And yes, you're probably right that there will be some people who circumvent the law, but if they're caught, then they will be prosecuted, and maybe make the punitive measures quite harsh. But it means that,
essentially,
like at the moment, if you live in a state where you don't have to register a weapon, you don't need a license, and you can openly carry it wherever you want. If you find a gang banger or whatever walking about the street with a fucking Glock, the police have no right to take that gun away from them.
Yeah.
But if you change the law, then they do.
Yeah, and actually,
they can prosecute them.
And so let's say, and I'm not saying everyone is, but let's say if you own like 20 guns, you might be a smidgen mad, right? But let's say you're not, so all your guns are licensed and the government know you own 20 guns. If everyone who doesn't get that license then goes out and gets caught with a gun, they get a mandatory minimum sentence, which is great for the American dodgy prison system because you get more people in the prison systems.
Build more stuff for slave labour wages.
Slave labour stuff that they love in the prison system in the US, and it gets the gun and the gun owner off the street. Now, that would then mean that proportionately moving forward, eventually you would hit a scenario where only the people who are licensed and not batshit crazy are the people who have guns, and you're removing the guns from the street.
Yeah, so you might end up with like a lower level of gun ownership in the US, but they should, by the law of averages, end up in the hands of decent, reasonable people.
So to give you an idea, gun wise, you're probably with guns with 30 guns per 100. For the most part, you are looking at between, for everyone else, you're looking at between 0.1 and 0.3 murders per 100,000 people.
Where's this?
Pretty much any of the other countries that have got 30. So like for France, for example, is 0.21 per 100,000 people.
For gun homicides.
Yes, and they've got, so that's gun homicides, and they've got 30 guns per 100.
So they've got a quarter as many guns as America, but their gun homicide level is way, way, way lower.
Yeah, so that's because they have a set of categories for the guns.
It's like, 5, 10, 15, it's about 20 times lower.
Yes, but they've got various categories for guns. So you've got restricted guns based on the capacity of rounds that they hold and what can and can't be owned by civilians, what can and can't be owned by military, and you have to have various certificates, and there's gun ownership conditions, and you have to do shit like, justify, like a fucking lunatic. Essentially, you have to have a 5-year, you have to go through a medical, you have to have a medical certificate to make sure that you're not nuts, you have to be over the age of 18, you have to be affiliated to a shooting range for category D, which is guns that can be picked up by, category D are guns that can be picked up by anybody from 18 or older. C is people who are 18 or older but have a hunting licence. B is 18 or older, they're affiliated with a shooting range, they attend at least 3 shooting sessions with an instructor, and they have a medical certificate to show that they're not mad, because essentially it's a more high powered rifle again.
Yeah.
And A is no civilian may carry it because it's a fucking assault rifle and there's no justification to have that as a person.
That sounds, well, see, here's a couple of things, right? I found out when looking into this that an assault rifle is no different to fucking any, it's just a semi-automatic. Like, you can't buy automatic weapons, fully automatic weapons in the US.
Yes.
You can only buy semi-automatic. A semi-automatic weapon is one that, when you pull the trigger, automatically reloads your next round. So it's one pull of the trigger per shot fired. You can't just go and fire hundreds of fucking bullets. It's semi-automatic. That's the best you can get. So even assault weapons in America, the assault part just relates to add-ons like grips, or you can get fucking grenade launchers to fucking bang on at your gun, which does seem pretty excessive, to be fair. But
it's amazing how much extra damage a single shot grenade launcher does.
Yeah. Or silencers, which in actual fact, if you watch a fucking movie, putting a silencer on a gun makes it dead silent. It doesn't at all. You know what I mean?
See if you were to put a silencer on an AR-15, for example, see for it to be big enough for it to be quiet. See if it was in Las Vegas, for example, the folk at the fucking show would be fucking getting hot in the back of the head by it, because it has to, that was a bit,
But it just makes it quiet enough so that it's not blowing the fucking eardrums out of the person shooting it, really.
Yeah, it's not a, if you've got a low enough caliber and it's a handgun and you've got a big enough can on it, you'll get your kind of James Bond, I don't know how you make that noise, you know what I mean, that kind of, that kind of silenced dead sound. But you need a big old can on a small caliber pistol for that to happen. You put a silencer on a AR-15, it's literally doing fuck all, man, no less it's massive.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna be secretly firing that gun somewhere and no one's gonna know about it. So it's just a semi-automatic rifle, but essentially. But I think a lot of people who know nothing about guns, which includes me, really, are kind of very ill informed about the language around them. Before I'd kind of looked into this, in my head, an assault rifle is something that I can fucking use when I'm playing fucking Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Whereas in reality, nobody can buy those in the US.
I know, but I will also, there has to be a caveat to that says that, see, if you had decided that you wanted to and you were only relatively capable, it's and for some rifles, especially ones that are based off of the military-based carbines, the modifications to make them fully automatic are relatively small in some cases.
Yeah.
So, if you've already purchased a gun that can then be easily converted,
and if you've got any kind of mechanical knowledge or or the ability to use the internet and like a file and fucking do it,
and malice,
then
you could do that.
Don't call malice.
I knew you were going to do that as soon as I said it.
I can't resist.
So take Canada. Canada's pretty much the highest on the list of in the over 30s that I'm calling this list.
Okay, sorry.
So that's
I thought this was like your category for dating.
Yeah, 0.38. So 0.38 is the amount of deaths per 100,000 in Canada.
Right.
It's creeping towards America.
0.38.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. But they're three. It's not creeping towards it. They're 3.3.
Yeah, it's essentially 10%, isn't it?
Yeah.
Almost exactly. But again, you can't get essentially you can't get an AR-15 in Canada.
So can you buy an AR-15 in America? Like if I wanted to go to America and get an AR-15 tomorrow, I'd be able to do that.
Well, America's kind of, as we said, it's vague. I mean, we've established you can in New Hampshire because you can buy whatever the fuck you want in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So it depends where you are. You certainly can't buy one in Washington DC. So you know what I mean, because these are prohibited weapons. Again, much the same. I mean, I don't want to bore you with all the details of every single person, but much the same. Essentially, in all the countries that have got around 30, so Sweden, for example, has got 30. It's got 0.19 gun-related deaths, and again, it's very difficult for you to be able to get guns unless you go through hunting exams. Essentially, what they say is, if you want to have a gun, you can get a gun, but you have to justify having a gun, show you're proficient with a gun, get a license for your gun, show you're going to store the gun correctly, and go for fucking exams and medicals to prove that you're not mad and want to shoot cunts. Which all seems reasonable.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, the only one that actually falls out of that entire list is Uruguay, which we've already kind of touched on earlier on. Uruguay's got 4.78 deaths per 100,000.
But it's not the same as the rest of those countries in that it's not a first world country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm air quoting civilized or whatever, but essentially it's not. That's what it is. It's not a third world country by any manner. It is a third world country. Sorry, none of the rest of them are third world.
I actually don't know if it is a third world.
Officially,
country.
I neither do I. But essentially, it's.
But I do have a handy computer in front of me.
Again, as you probably imagine, even though it's relatively well documented, it's still quite difficult to get all the licensing laws in Uruguay for guns. It's quite difficult to get all the licensing laws for all of South America in the grand scheme of things. Mexico was actually one of the easier ones to get, and in the nicest possible way, I'm almost 100% certain that all the stats in Mexico are lies, because there's absolutely no way that they have so little gun death in the grand scheme of things, because we know that they have massive gang violence. We know that not so long ago the government police force were fighting fucking mafia in the streets, and there was helicopters and drug barons being beheaded and fucking people getting fucking kidnapped in fucking holiday destinations and stuff. You know what I mean? Shit has went bad in Mexico, in certain parts of Mexico. So I know that those numbers aren't accurate. We know that they're not.
So just pulling back to Uruguay for a second. Basically, what I'm seeing is that anywhere in South America is a third world country, but Uruguay is actually a pretty developed country. It's got it's quite a strong economy, strongly dependent on agricultural products and their exportation. It's one of the most economically developed countries in Latin America, with a high GDP per capita, and it ranks 47th for quality of life in the world. So it's very far removed from the rest of the countries that you mentioned, i.e. Iceland, Germany, Canada. It wouldn't be anywhere close to them, but it's also in around the countries it's next to, so the other South American countries, Brazil, etc. It's doing much better than a lot of them.
Yeah, which is why its records are marginally better and why we get this information from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's...
But you've got countries down there that are fucking got crazy high murder rates.
Fucking, there's countries down there that are crazy high. Like, real crazy high. And then, kind of last on my list there is Austria. Austria is also in the 30s club. It's got 0.1 deaths to guns. It is one of the only countries...
And they do ship a lot of their guns out to the
That's
US.
That's why they don't have any. Actually, they are one of the only countries in the EU where you're allowed to cite home defence as a reason for purchasing your gun. And they let you purchase it for that. It's also it's one of the only countries in the European Union that let you have a permit to bring weapons and ammunition into Austria. So you can bring guns and ammunition into Austria.
From anywhere else?
Anywhere you want, as long as you got a permit.
Yeah, but I guess there'll only be certain types of weapons that you'll be allowed to get a permit for, or ammunition or whatever.
No, but you have to have proof of your trip, itinerary, plane tickets and purpose, a valid passport, a valid firearms pass and permit issued by the authorities of your place of residence, a statement of good conduct, a sheriff's letter, criminal record clearance letter that's issued by the proper authorities. So essentially you have to prove that you're not a criminal, that you're going to a specific place for a specific reason and you've legally hold that firearm. But fundamentally it can be any firearm. Like, so if you were in like a shadier
Like a
log
fucking bazooka.
country, essentially, if you were in a country where legally you could own a bazooka, which I'm relatively confident there's no
I
way.
don't believe that you can just fucking rock up. Even if you've got all of that paperwork and you rock up in Austria.
Further documentation might be required on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. They aren't letting some random motherfucker come in with a bazooka, even if he's got a fucking letter of good fucking conduct or whatever.
Don't know, man. See if you show up and you bought a bazooka for whatever reason. Say you're a collector or something like that, and you have to go through Austria, and you've got a bazooka and ammunition, but you do have the genuine permit for it for your country and whatever fucking mad country that you live in that lets you own a bazooka. Probably New Hampshire, to the sounds of it. But and you've got a proof of where you're going through Austria, and you've got a valid passport, and you've got a letter saying that you're neither a criminal and that the sheriff knows you and that you're not going to bazooka cunts. Like, it only costs you €42 to apply for that permit, so it's a bargain.
I think we should obtain a bazooka and visit Austria, man, just to see.
I don't know genuinely if I could get a letter of goodwill off a police. Like,
what's it for? I want to take a bazooka to Austria.
why do you want to take a bazooka to Austria? Because for €42 I can.
And also, I put a lot of fucking time and research into this fucking podcast episode, like, so, and I've said it now, I'm fucking locked in, mate.
I mean, you also have to have a valid firearms pass from the country that you reside in, and I'm relatively confident we couldn't get that for a bazooka.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless we get, I bet if we could go full HSBC and we'll just have a dodgy place in the Seychelles that doesn't actually fucking exist, but we'll just get an address there.
Do the Seychelles allow bazookas?
Probably. Citation needed.
Right,
So yeah,
I think
so essentially what I was getting to with all of that is a lot of the countries, there's a lot of countries that have got the normalised amount of guns, and of those countries, the general consensus is a set of checks for everyone that gets guns and a cap on the reasonable amount of guns that someone can have without showing signs of being fucking broken. Do you know what I mean? Without showing signs of being a bit mental, because you don't need 15 AR-15s, you know what I mean?
The problem that you've got though is you're looking then to introduce quite a large amount of legislation potentially into the US system, which has a real desire to not have any legislation introduced to it.
Employment goes up.
Yeah, well,
We make America great again.
But what I mean is, you're gonna have a massive amount of pushback from like 50% of America at least. Fuck off, Phil.
Love a massive amount of pushback.
So, I mean,
Sorry.
you're never. Basically, what a lot of anti-gun control people are afraid of is creeping implementation of laws which will gradually take more and more guns out of private ownership, right? So which is why they are so against any kind of gun control at all.
But that's like the misconception of things, like the other things that happens, especially in America, like things like the misconception of what socialism is, that people are going to come and take your fucking houses off you. I mean, it's not the same, like they're going to start taking your property off you. That's not what we're talking about here.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, when you talk about Germany, albeit there are a large amount of guns proportionally compared to the UK, it does sound like there is quite a lot of legislation involved in that.
Oh, there's tons of legislation.
So what I'm saying to you is, it's a hard sell to turn up in America and go, I want to do all of this. To me, I think from the research that we've done, I think America would definitely benefit from registration for all the reasons I stated before. I think the most important thing that America can do, if it really is interested in keeping guns, for the right to bear arms for the Constitution.
In case Prince Charles gets the job and just fucking shows up, protecting himself against the King of England, Prince Charles gets the job and number one in his agenda just going to be like, that's it, we're heading back over.
Or just, protecting himself against a tyrannical government, because, they only have drones.
The US do not have a tyrannical government.
But a potential tyrannical government. What if Trump lost the nut and because I don't know, it doesn't seem to me to be that level-headed, the guy. To
be honest, just as a side note and just as a public service announcement, in the event Trump goes and Pence gets put in, Pence isn't going to be any better. Like, there's another story within itself. But I mean, he's got right-wing religious views, and it's not going to be fucking pleasant for
He's
Americans.
definitely going to be pro-guns, though.
Oh, he's definitely going to be pro-guns.
But anyway,
so he's going to rebrand them as Jesus cannons. What
I'm saying is, if you as an American citizen have a desire to own guns, but you also have, a moralistic desire to ensure that people are as safe as they possibly can be, then surely you have to be in favour of as much scientific research as possible by an independent party, by an independent body of people. So how that would come about, you would have to sort out. But I know that they have a situation whereby, like, the highest judges in the land, like the Supreme Court judges, are chosen together by Republicans and Democrats to come to a consensus to make sure that they are happy that there's a good balance of people in there and people who are at the top of their profession. So they could do a similar thing to get researchers in, some of whom might be pro-guns, some of whom might be anti-guns, but a good level playing field, make sure that they're doing valid scientific research and find out what legislation might work in their favour, or find out if actually what's needed is more guns, because that's possible. Like when you look at Vermont, when you look at New Hampshire, places which have very lax gun laws and really low levels of crime compared to places that have really high crime and really like strict gun laws in comparison, maybe that is the way to go, but you're never going to know unless you do proper research, and you need to fund that, and you need to have that not illegal.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that Americans are going to have to accept is, in the nicest possible way, is that if mass shootings like what happened in Las Vegas and like what's happened it may be the way that the news covers it, right? And it may be the way the media cover it.
It's still increasing massively.
Yeah. That's it. So if it does continue to increase, something's going to give, and you have to look for a solution, right? You have to look for a solution to this problem. So either you start. So say you're not willing for the government to be putting out money to making sure that proper research is happening, because what if it doesn't go in your favour? Well, one of two things are going to happen. If you can't come to a reasonable, kind of middle of the road where the normal, sane, day-to-day, blue-collar Americans who own guns are registering and coming forward and making sure that their guns are all there on a list, then they're going to come for the guns or they're going to just stop you from being able to buy ammo, and then your guns, it doesn't matter how much you stockpile. You can stockpile fucking 10,000 bullets. You're going to go through 10,000 bullets fast. And just another quick bit, right? When talking about how if they're going to come for your guns, you're going to protect yourself by shooting at people, you're not, right? You're not. Like, you're probably, and not everyone, but you're probably overweight. You're probably relatively unfit. You're probably a relatively decent shot, but in the event they sent a group of fucking SWAT or a group of fucking, highly trained fucking special forces in to take your guns off you, there's fuck all you're going to do. You're just going to get killed or your guns taken off you anyway. This way requires a lot less getting shot at or murdering police. So, you know what I mean? Like, the way that it's going to have to go forward is there's going to be a breaking point, because there has to be, because you can't keep on letting people who are mentally ill buy fucking 15 assault rifles and go into fucking Las Vegas. See, the thing is, I get that there's conspiracy theories and everything that go why he was there and who he got the guns from stuff. None of that matters. He was able to get those guns and he was able to shoot out that window, and that's because the gun laws are not as restrictive as they should be in the US. That's what it boils down to. I mean, like, I'm all for everyone in the fucking US having a gun. Literally give everybody a gun, provided they can prove they're not psychotic and that they know how to handle, take care and store their guns correctly. I don't think it's an unreasonable ask. It's a totally justifiable middle of the road.
I totally agree with you. And going back to what you were saying at the start, like, if this was any other kind of epidemic, and that's what it is, right? You've got increased mass shootings happening all the time. If this was an AIDS epidemic, the government would rightly be doing research into how it was spreading, what they could do to fix it, what the best way of treating it was, and government money would be spent on it and proper research would be done in order to save the lives of American people. So while you might be against gun control, you might be for gun control, you should definitely be for looking into what you can do to stop people getting fucking shot in mass killings. And it might be that gun control does absolutely nothing, but the only way you're going to find out is by spending money and doing proper research. And because if it might be that you find a completely different solution. And I think realistically that it's a culture thing, what you spoke about before. You have a certain type of culture in America which is bred out of, in my opinion, having one of the most unequal societies in the world. You have massively rich people, you have extremely poor people, and you have the idea of aspiration and of the quote-unquote American dream. You have people who have been sold that idea their entire life but who cannot possibly achieve it and are then turning and going fucking nuts, and they happen to have the availability of guns. You've also seen, people who have mental health issues and things like Asperger's and stuff like that.
Prescription drug problems in the United States that are absolutely massive, something we talked about in our drug episode, where like essentially there's a lot of southern states that are addicted to, essentially what they call hillbilly heroin, but like over the counter Oxycontin, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And that's again another problem where America has been used like as a science experiment in places by the American government. It has. I mean, they ghettoised lots of people. They've done experiments on them that to do with like drugs being available. Do you know what I mean? Like nowhere else in the world is drugs available the way that they are in the US. I mean, like
they gave black people syphilis.
Yeah, I mean
on purpose. Yeah, we could put a link up for that. That's provable.
It's also not a really particularly fun read, but they did do that. So like, there's been lots of times where like, like I said, something's got to give, and if you don't look at a way to fix the problem, the only way they can fix the problem is by force. I mean, they're just going to stop you from buying guns and stop you from buying ammo and take your guns off you. And like, you can say that you've lost your guns, you can say that you're going to hide your guns, but as soon as you're seen with a fucking gun, you're then going to be a criminal. a criminal on the same day. You could be a standard working, like, middle American guy who doesn't do fucking anything wrong in your entire life, but you've wanted to keep your gun and you weren't willing to register your gun, so then you're a fucking criminal and you go to jail, and then you work in the mad prison slave system that they operate in America because you didn't want to register your gun. That's where it's going to boil down to if there isn't something put in place to fix it.
Yeah, and as an outsider, I feel weary of looking at yet another mass shooting happening in America. Nobody wants to see it. I'm sure our listeners in America don't want to see it either, regardless of whether they're pro or anti-gun control. So, yeah, put pressure on your local legislators to get funding in place, get an independent body set up, and start doing some proper research on how to stop that happening. And it may well be that gun control's not the answer, but you're never going to know if you don't do any research.
Well, that's it. I mean, I would just say at the very end here that, in my opinion, like, they may find out from doing this research that intense gun control isn't the option, and if they do, then you have to find another solution. But if you don't get that research, then there's no chance that that's the decision that they're going to come to, because they're going to get increased pressure from countries around the world, all the countries that we've listed, for fuck's sake, that are going to be putting pressure to, you're going to have to put regulation in place, and it could work out worse than if it just goes its natural course.
Yeah, it's time to sit down and be adults, America, and get this sorted the fuck out. That's my opinion as a Scottish guy who knows fucking jack shit about America, really. So I hope that all of you listeners in the US haven't been too annoyed by the stuff that we've said. I hope we haven't came across as completely ignorant. We have tried to do as much studying into the various stats and whatever around this as we possibly could. I want to go to thanking all of our Patreons. I want to thank Dan in particular, who's new to us this month. Thanks very much for signing up, Dan.
And Tina, because she's moved up a tier in how much she's donating to us, which is always good.
Really appreciate that. We had a great time in Ireland, and as I said earlier, I hope you enjoyed the special podcast. We've got a lot more content coming from there. We had a brilliant time on those Conspiracy Guys live show in Dublin with Johnny and Shane from the Disaster Artists as well. You can get our video on YouTube of that. We were talking Cambridge Analytica and all things fucking Trump and Brexit and government conspiracy in that regard.
Yeah, it was all the fun stuff, as you can probably imagine. We also have links at the bottom that you can go and look at for. We have two sponsors. We've got Beer 52 and we've got Cornerstone. We'll put the links there for it. We usually do adverts, but this has been a long, tedious, heavy going episode. I mean, I can't begin to stress. We went into this and we were going to do this episode and we were looking forward to doing it. And to be honest, if I see another fucking statistic on gun crime ever again, it'll be too soon, because it took us, it was a lot of work for us to look through all of this. And as you can probably imagine, reading about gun deaths isn't exactly the most cheery. So we'll provide the links for Beer 52 and Cornerstone at the bottom. We'll provide our links to our Patreon if you want to join us, you want to come into our Discord server and you can chat to us all the time, every day. You can see me say horrendous things that I would never say out in public because it's in a closed environment.
I would also like to thank anybody who has written us an iTunes review recently. We've had loads of really positive reviews, which makes us feel lovely and warm and fuzzy inside. And if you do like the show and haven't written us an iTunes review, please go on and do that, because it doesn't cost you anything to do and it really makes a massive difference to us and our listenership and how we come across in the world of iTunes. So yeah, we would massively appreciate that.
Yeah, and just finally, see our American listeners, especially in this episode, let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the research that we've done. Let us know what we got wrong. Do you know what I mean? If you've got information, let us know you've got it wrong. We're willing to accept if we're wrong.
And it's impossible to be right all the time. It's impossible to read everything that's out there. So yeah, if there's something that we've massively missed, then please do engage with us on social media or hit us up at info@notanotherfakenewscast.com and tell us what your opinion is, point us towards some articles and some research which show where we've went wrong.
And if you think this is beneficial, share it out and let other people listen to it and let other people see where we're coming from. I don't think we've been particularly harsh on the US in the grand scheme of things. There's been some things that we find not right, some things that we find good, so yeah.
And if you really, really fucking hate us, then we'll meet you in Austria for a bazooka fight, motherfuckers.
That would be the best way to resolve it. Like, if Jerry will meet you for a bazooka fight because my face is too pretty to be bazookaed, I'm gonna let you.
I'm looking at his face, that's a lie.
So anyway, that's been great. I've really enjoyed this episode, so thanks a lot, and that's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. Peace
thanks.
out.
Bye bye.